F1 stakeholders are gathering for a crunch meeting to try solve the biggest problems with the 2026 formula, and we've learned about the rule changes it might produce. The first 3 races have laid bare the good, the bad and the ugly of F1's new rules, and a big push is underway to fix some obvious problems. That won't include the new yo-yo style of racing, which has prompted love and loathing in equal measure from drivers and fans. F1 doesn't see it needing any urgent action. But there is paddock consensus that a number of other areas do need urgent attention via rule changes. So team technical chiefs, as well as representatives of the engine manufacturers, are to gather with heads of the FIA and F1 on the 9th of April to discuss tweaks. They hope to agree on a raft of rule changes to come into play before the next race, the Miami Grand Prix in early May. We've learned the 3 priority areas for the meeting and the potential rule changes that could be brought in. Ollie Behrman's escape from serious injury in his high-speed crash at the Japanese Grand Prix has put safety at the top of the agenda for the rules summit. The Haas driver's crash, triggered by a 50km/h offset between his car in boost mode and the energy-saving Franco Colapinto ahead, has shown how serious the consequences can be when things go wrong. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella repeatedly said this was an area that needed some urgent attention before there was an accident. And with those fears having now been realised, it would be inexcusable for action not to be taken. Another focus area is saving qualifying from what has ruined it in 2026 so far. The likes of Charles Leclerc are saddened that the days of crazy on the edge Q3 laps are over, and while the yo-yo racing has divided opinion, qualifying in 2026 has very few advocates. There is too much energy management that leads to more lift and coast and superclipping, the enemies of flat out qualifying. Plus, there are those weird algorithm quirks we revealed after China with a stark Leclerc case study, where the cars are confusing themselves from a minor driver error or input difference. But perhaps most troubling of all is the speed drop-off at the end of the straights when cars run out of battery power. This was exposed in Melbourne already, but the cars dropping speed on the run down to 130R at Suzuka was perhaps the worst example so far. Lando Norris rightly says it hurts your soul to see such a stark speed tail-off on straights. It looks worst of all on the onboard cameras, when they're working, with the painfully unmissable sound of the engine note falling away. So how is F1 going to fix these 3 core problems? Here are 6 solutions in play. Lift and coast is a necessary evil of F1 2026 because drivers have to harvest extra power, but as well as being anti what F1 should be, it increases the risk of huge closing speeds between cars. Reducing the need to employ unusual tactics to recover energy is key here. One straightforward tweak to help things would be to increase how much power can be harvested when superclipping, i.e. when drivers harvest energy while still on full throttle. Right now, drivers are limited to 250 kilowatts when doing this, compared to the 350 kilowatts that is available from lift and coast. If superclipping was increased to the same 350 kilowatt as lift and coast, then this would become the preferred route, at least reducing lift and coast. The chase to allow drivers to push harder in qualifying could require what appears to be some counterintuitive thinking. Going faster is actually not always the best response, as making the cars slower with less available energy could return qualifying to more of a flat-out spectacle. The current issues with qualifying are all about cars having too much power in the wrong place. So what needs to be done is to smooth out the curve, stretch the deployment over much more of the straight, so it doesn't run out until the last possible moment. This can be achieved with the current cars through cutting back on the 350 kilowatt maximum deployment ability, because by burning less power, the available energy in the battery will last longer. It is a backup plan that the FIA has had in mind for a long time. It was discussed early last year, and the FIA asked teams to test it during pre-season testing in Bahrain too. Another alternative being evaluated is to perhaps mandate regulations that force MG UK deployment to ramp down much earlier than happens right now. F1's current rules have a ramp down rate, typically only allowing a 50 kilowatt drop every 1 second or 100 kilowatts at some circuits. That ultimately defines when battery power runs out. This profile could be changed to ensure the ramp down slope is made more aggressive, so it takes longer to drain the battery. Furthermore, current rules that require the MG UK deployment to start being reduced at 340 km an hour could be tweaked to see that come in at a lower speed. Perhaps the biggest weapon in F1's toolbox is actually reducing the amount of energy that can be recovered. At the moment, the maximum allowed in qualifying is 9 megajoules per lap, but at Suzuka, to help on an energy-starved track, this was reduced at the last minute to 8 megajoules. There has been some evaluation of pulling that back dramatically to as low as 6 megajoules per lap, to help make it super easy for drivers to hit the recharge limit and therefore avoid the need for so much lift and coast and superclipping. If drivers can recover everything through normal braking, then driving would become more regular again. The equation that needs factoring in though is how big an impact that could have on lap time, as less energy recovered means there is less to be deployed. Sources have suggested that a drop from the current 9 megajoules to 7 megajoules per lap could add almost 1 second to lap times, but a 6 megajoule limit could more than double that loss. Some fans might not like slower cars, but you can argue drivers pushing slower cars to their limit is better than faster cars being driven conservatively. And if tweaks were made in other areas of the rules, this could offset any speed drop from a 6 megajoule limit.
Today's video is brought to you by the Armor All Podium Series, a premium line of car cleaning, detailing and air freshening products made in collaboration between Armor All and Oracle Red Bull Racing. Engineered with precision and expertise featuring SiO2-based hybrid ceramic technology, the Armor All Podium Series products are formulated to meet the elite performance standards of Oracle Red Bull Racing, so you can achieve podium-worthy results on your vehicle at home. Fans of the race have had a chance to try the Armor All Podium Series products on their cars, and they said the results are incredible. From the tyre shine to the interior detailer and spray wax, this line has everything you need to clean and detail your vehicle like the Oracle Red Bull Racing team. The Armor All Podium Series is available now online and in store. Find out where to buy and more information at armorallpodiumseries.com. The Armor All Podium Series, the world's most elite car care.
One left field way to do this could be a complete overhaul of the active area rules, which reduce drag by between 25 to 40% and therefore reduce the power required to punch the car through the air. Right now, the activation of straight mode is in zones strictly defined by the FIA. An alternative idea to be discussed is to drastically expand the use of straight mode and even remove the concept of zones entirely. So just like in the early years of DRS, when its use in qualifying was totally free, so too this could be a concept that works for F1 now. Opening up the use of straight mode would help reduce drag demands on the cars a lot, making the cars quicker in sections where the wings are open, and further helping improve how far battery energy can go. By totally opening up the freedom to use it, say for example by allowing it in Japan from spoon curve all the way to the chicane, teams would then have the choice of how to pitch their wing levels. They could opt for straight mode to be zero downforce, so quicker down the straights, but drivers would then need to switch to corner mode in all bends. Or it could be pitched at a higher downforce level with a drag compromise, so drivers could keep it open through some fast-flowing corners. One of the ways that F1 can help improve the power management over a lap and reduce the battery headaches would be to increase the contribution of the internal combustion engine. Right now the balance is roughly 55% to 45%, with 400 kilowatt coming from the internal combustion engine and 350 kilowatt coming from the battery. A shifting of the balance, ramping up the horsepower from the internal combustion engine and dialing down what the battery delivers would drastically reduce the levels of electrical energy management that are a headache now. One of the easiest ways to increase the internal combustion engine power would be to lift the fuel flow limit. But while the idea in principle has some support, there are technical complications that mean that it is not possible this year. The current internal combustion engines have been designed around the technical regulations, so changing things immediately to lift the power risks pushing internal components beyond levels they were designed for, triggering potential reliability concerns. While any big change here is likely to be off the table for now, it is something that could be agreed to come into play for 2027, so manufacturers have time to adjust things. While safety and energy management will take priority in the April 9th meeting, there will also be discussions about trying to simplify the rules. Right now, it is not only fans and drivers confused about several aspects of the rules. Leclerc's aforementioned China qualifying lap was an example of power units confusing themselves because of an algorithm quirk. Leclerc called it a bit silly that in coming off the accelerator pedal he had fallen outside of a threshold that allows for power deployment to be limited, to effectively burn too much energy in the wrong part of the track. Getting rid of some of the complexities in the rulebook, like those thresholds, would go a long way to putting some control back in the hands of the drivers. And that is key to shifting qualifying to be more about driver and machine on the limit once again, rather than it feeling like a computer code is deciding who is on pole position.